So I just saw Michael, and the critics got it horribly wrong. In cinema, some films are meant to be watched, and others are meant to be experienced. And when it comes to Michael, this might be one of the biggest disconnects we've seen in a very long time. Because critics on Rotten Tomatoes have it sitting around 30%, while audiences in general have it around 90%. And that's not a small difference. That's two completely different experiences. And after seeing it opening weekend, I think I understand why. So I have to give credit to my wife, who actually put me on this one. She wanted to go opening weekend. She made me promise months ago. I'm not gonna lie, I went in expecting to be just a little disappointed by how picks as they are. We got there early, grabbed a couple of aisle seats, popcorn in hand, and I took a look around, and the place was packed. But what stood out wasn't just that it was full, it was the energy. I knew everybody was excited just from the chatter in the theater. And I saw this in Baltimore, so you already know people were reacting out loud, talking to the screen, cheering them on, clapping, and etc. And at times it was a bit distracting, very distracting, but at the same time, it made the experience even better. And it honestly took me back to the pre-COVID days of going to the movies. And sitting in there, it clicked. Some films are watched and others are experienced. And this is one of those that you need to experience, because what the score gap is really telling you is this. Critics and audiences aren't watching the same movie. Critics are judging what's on the screen, the structure, the depth, the narrative, the technical execution. But the audience is there reacting to how it feels in the room. And this movie is built for that kind of experience. Directed by Anton Fuqua, who's known for much grittier, more grounded films like Training Day, this is definitely a different lane for him. And I feel like that affected the critics and kind of reflects why you see the scores that you do. But visually, you still get that clean, well-paced style that he's known for. And instead of the tension driving the film, it's most of the performances and the music that do most of the heavy lifting. And that's where this film lives and dies. And for me, Jafar Jackson nailed it completely. For this being his first major role, it's very impressive, and he deserves some award consideration. Not only did he do a good job of imitating Michael, but he captured the presence, the movement, and the energy. And all those performance scenes, whenever they hit, the audience went crazy. Now the supporting cast is strong too. Coleman Domingo plays Joe Jackson, very cold and very controlled. And it works for the tone of the film, but I'll be honest, that was probably my biggest narrative critique. Joe Jackson seems to be a much more complex figure than what we usually see on screen, especially when you consider where he came from and how he was raised and the time period he came up in. And I do think the film oversimplifies that. Nia Long, on the other hand, brings a warmth that really helps balance that dynamic, and it's quite refreshing throughout the film. And overall, the cast does a great job of supporting the story. But again, this movie isn't really trying to be a deep psychological breakdown. And that's where critics often get stuck, in my opinion, because if you judge this as a traditional biopic, looking for full character exploration, controversy, and depth, then yeah, it's gonna feel like it's lacking. But that's not what this movie is aiming for. This film works because it's a crowd pleaser. It leans into the music, the nostalgia, the moments that people came to relive. And in a packed theater, it turns into something that's much bigger than what's on screen. It becomes an experience, something like a concert. And honestly, the numbers back that up. This film had a massive budget, somewhere between $165 and $200 million to be made. That's already made over $400 million worldwide in the first 2 weeks. So despite the critics, the audience are showing up. And I think that proves something simple. People still love Michael Jackson worldwide. So for me, if you see my other videos, you know I have my own rating system. So I asked 3 questions. Am I glad I saw it? Yes. Would I see it again? Absolutely. In fact, I think I will with my wife. And would I recommend it to a friend? And the answer to that is absolutely. So it's a 3 out of 3 for me, which is rare. And if you're someone that misses that kind of movie-going experience, that lively, reactive, almost concert-like energy, you should go see this one sooner rather than later, because in the right crowd, this isn't just a movie, it's an experience. So when you see that 30% critic score, just understand that it might not be telling you what kind of film this actually is. But I want to hear from you. Do you think the critics got this one wrong? Did I get it wrong? Or is this just a different kind of movie audiences are connecting with overall? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more honest and thoughtful movie reviews like this, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. All right, see you in the theater.